Everyone, I'd like to, Mike Ray, we're recalling the order. Call to order, I'd like everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. One announcement before we get started. Pursuant to the Pennsylvania Sunshine Act, the board president wishes to announce that at its regular meeting convened for general purposes on Tuesday, October 8, 2024, the Board of Education of the Hanover Area School District held an executive session to discuss matters of employee relations, labor negotiations, threatened or actual litigation, and went into closed executive session, first of all on September 24th from 5:30 to 6 p.m. and tonight 10/8/2024 from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. and began the public meeting tonight at 7 p.m. The subjects discussed in the executive session related solely to matters of employee relations, labor negotiations, threatened or actual litigations. Thank you. Roll call.
Ms. Bleich?
Present.
Mr. Holmgren?
Absent.
Mr. Hyder?
Present.
Dr. Kopko?
Here.
Mr. Majer? Here. Mr. Orvik?
Here.
Mr. Reddick? Here. Mr. Stevens, I'm here. Mr. McDermott?
Here.
Quorum established.
All right. First, we're going to ask for board or public input on agenda items only. Any? Not seeing any. We'll move right into our agenda. The approval and acceptance of minutes. We have a motion to approve the minutes.
Orvik.
Motion by Mr. Orvik.
Bleich.
Seconded by Mrs. Bleich. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Superintendent's report, Mr. Barrett.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to announce our September Student of the Month at the Junior Senior High School. Our Student of the Month is Creed Gorham. He's our senior class president. He plays on our volleyball team, and he has a part-time job at Best Buy, and he plans to study clinical psychology at Bucknell or Carnegie Mellon. Congratulations, Mr. Creed. That is all I have for you at this time, Mr.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to accept the superintendent's report?
Motion, Hyder.
Motion by Mr. Hyder.
Second, Stevens.
Second by Mr. Stevens. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Sorry, guys. General recommendations. Approval of items number 1 and 2. Do we have a motion to accept? Orvik. Motion by Mr. Orvik.
Hyder.
Second by Mr. Hyder. On the following motion, Mr. Secretary, call the roll, please.
Ms. Bleich?
Yes.
Mr. Hyder?
Yes.
Dr. Kopko?
Yes.
Mr. Majer?
Yes.
Mr. Orvik?
Yes.
Mr. Reddick?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens, I'm a yes. Mr. McDermott?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Financial recommendations, items 1 through, what number do we have? 1 through 7. We have a motion. I'm sorry, we're going right through them, right? One at a time, or no? We can do them all, right? Okay, motion to accept these items.
Majer?
Motion by Mr. Majer.
Second, Orvik.
Okay, we got a second by Dr. Kopko.
Okay.
On the motion, please call the roll, Mr. Secretary.
Ms. Bleich?
I abstain on 1 and yes for 2 through 7.
Mr. Hyder?
Yes.
Dr. Kopko?
Yes.
Mr. Majer?
Yes.
Mr. Orvik?
Yes.
Mr. Reddick?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens, I am abstaining. I'm employed by the Sanitary Authority. I'm abstaining on number 6, yes on the rest. Mr. McDermott?
The same thing as Mr. Stevens. I'm an employee also, so I'm abstaining on number 6. I approve 1 through 7 minus 6.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Personnel items, we'll start 1 through 11, right? Yeah. Items 1 through 11. Do we have a motion?
Majer.
Motion by Mr. Majer.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Bleich. Roll call?
Ms. Bleich?
Yes.
Mr. Hyder?
Yes for 1 through 6. I abstained from 8, so then 7 and 11 through 11, yes as well.
Dr. Kopko?
Yes.
Mr. Majer?
Yes.
Mr. Orvick?
Yes.
Mr. Reddick?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens, I'm a yes. Mr. McDermott?
Yes.
1 through 6, or 1 through 11, carried.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. On item number 12, we're going to entertain a motion to table number 12. Do we have a motion to table number 12?
Orvik.
So, my motion by Mr. Orvick.
Blythe.
Second by Mrs. Blythe. Roll call, please.
Ms. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Hyder?
Yes.
Dr. Kopko?
Yes.
Mr. Majer?
Yes.
Mr. Orvick?
Yes.
Mr. Reddick?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens, I'm a yes. Mr. McDermott?
Yes.
Number 12 is tabled.
Thank you,
Personnel.
Mr. Secretary. We'll go through items 13 through 20 individually. Do we have a recommendation number 13?
Yes. Appoint Devin Sank as an occupational therapist at a salary of $64,668 in accordance with the HAEA contract.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. Motion to accept the recommendation on number 13 by our superintendent.
Motion, Stevens.
Motion by Mr. Stevens.
Second,
Second by
Kopko.
Dr. Kopko. Roll call.
Ms. Blythe?
Yes.
Mr. Hyder?
Yes.
Dr. Kopko?
Yes.
Mr. Majer?
Yes.
Mr. Orvick?
Yes.
Mr. Reddick?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens, I'm a yes. Mr. McDermott?
Yes.
Number 13 on personnel carries.
Number 14, do we have a recommendation from our superintendent?
Yes, sir. Appoint Alexandra Kester as a speech and language pathologist at a salary of $64,668 in accordance with the HAE contract, pending all clearances.
Motion to accept the superintendent's recommendation.
Majer.
Motion by Mr. Majer.
Hyder, second.
Second by Mr. Hyder. Roll call.
Ms. Blythe?
Yes.
Mr. Hyder?
Yes.
Dr. Kopko?
Yes.
Mr. Majer?
Yes.
Mr. Orvick?
Yes.
Mr. Reddick?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens, I'm a yes. Mr. McDermott?
Yes.
Number 14 on personnel carries.
Thank you. On number 15, we have a recommendation from our superintendent.
Yes, sir. Appoint Stacy Moore as a reading specialist at a salary of $64,668 in accordance with the HAE contract, pending all clearances.
Thank you. A motion to accept the superintendent's recommendation.
Orvik.
Motion by Mr. Orvick.
Second, Stevens.
Second by Mr. Stevens. Roll call.
Ms. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Hyder?
Yes.
Dr. Kopko?
Yes.
Mr. Majer?
Yes.
Mr. Orvick?
Yes.
Mr. Reddick?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens, I'm a yes. Mr. McDermott?
Yes.
Number 15 personnel carries.
Number 16, recommendation from our superintendent.
Yes. Appoint Eva Wickheiser as an instructional aide as per the HAESPA contract, pending all clearances.
Motion to accept this.
Reddick.
Thank you, Mr. Reddick. Seconded.
Majer?
Mr. Majer. Roll call.
Ms. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Hyder?
Yes.
Dr. Kopko?
Yes.
Mr. Majer?
Yes.
Mr. Orvick?
Yes.
Mr. Reddick?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens, I'm a yes. Mr. McDermott?
Yes.
Number 16 on personnel carries.
Thank you. Number 17, do we have a recommendation from our superintendent?
Yes, I do. Appoint Lori Cologne Huppa as the paraprofessional at a rate of $20 per hour.
It's pending all clearances, right?
Yes.
Motion to accept the superintendent's recommendation.
Motion, Blythe.
Motion by Mrs. Blythe.
Second, Stevens.
Second by Mr. Stevens. Roll call.
Ms. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Hyder?
Yes.
Dr. Kopko?
Yes.
Mr. Majer?
Yes.
Mr. Orvick?
Yes.
Mr. Reddick?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens, I'm a yes. Mr. McDermott?
Yes.
Number 17 carries. Personnel.
Thank you. Number 18, recommendation from our superintendent.
Yes. Appoint Hamaleas Gomez Martinez as a paraprofessional at $20 per hour, pending all clearances.
We have a motion to accept.
Reddick.
Thank you, Mr. Reddick. Seconded.
Majer?
Mr. Majer. Roll call.
Ms. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Hyder?
Yes.
Dr. Kopko?
Yes.
Mr. Majer?
Yes.
Mr. Orvick?
Yes.
Mr. Reddick?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens, I'm a yes. Mr. McDermott?
Yes.
Number 18 on personnel carries.
Number 19, superintendent recommendation.
Yes. Appoint Michelle Lemereau as paraprofessional at $20 per hour pending all clearances.
We have a motion to accept the superintendent's recommendation.
Orvik,
Motion by Mr. Orvik,
second, Stevens.
second by Mr. Stevens. Roll call.
Ms. Bleich,
Yes.
Mr. Hyder,
Yes.
Dr. Kopko,
Yes.
Mr. Mazur. Yes. Mr. Orvik,
Yes.
Mr. Reddick.
Yes.
Mr. Stevens, I'm a yes. Mr. McDermott.
Yes.
Number 19 on personnel carries.
And finally, number 20, recommendation from our superintendent.
Yes, appoint Michelle Okonski as a hall monitor at a rate of $15 per hour pending all clearances.
Do we have a motion to accept the recommendation of the
Kopko.
superintendent? Dr. Kopko, second.
Reddick.
I'm sorry?
Reddick.
Mr. Reddick, second. Roll call.
Ms. Bleich,
Yes.
Mr. Hyder,
Yes.
Dr. Kopko.
Yes.
Mr. Mazur.
Yes.
Mr. Orvik,
Yes.
Mr. Reddick. Yes. Mr. Stevens, I'm a yes. Mr. McDermott.
Yes.
Number 20 carries, personnel.
Okay, that's it for our agenda. We have public comment on anything. Mr.
Mike Pottsville, Hanover Township. I'm just wondering, the personnel items that we went through, with the superintendent's recommendations, were those discussed previously, or is it just the recommendation and everybody votes when they hear the name in the meeting tonight?
So, as I mentioned during the work session, there was a committee interview panel that was per department. So special ed or our curriculum, we put together a team, we interviewed the candidates, and then we made the recommendation to the board.
Okay, so it was committee stuff and, people were doing the interviews. I thought that was just for the, coaches, so I remember you saying something, I wasn't sure if that covered that as well. That's all I was curious about.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Just a couple of things. Luke Matthews from Warrior Run. First thing, I want to make sure everyone knows that whatever I say here is, these are my words. I'm no one's mouthpiece. For some reason, I get a lot of information sent to me, and a lot of people are telling me what to say, what not to say, you know, including board members. I received a right to know response from the sanitation authority. Is that right? Sanitary authority?
Senator.
So this right to know request was about you, Brian.
I know.
And, you know, so I had sent back to Kim, what's the, can you send me the request? And she responded saying, well, you made the request, you should have a copy of your request. So I explained to her that I never made any request in this. I didn't ask for if there were projects being done at 80 West St. Mary's Road. I guess some of you guys spent a lot of time there, so there was questions as to whether or not there was a project going on there. So for whoever made the request and put it in my name, because she did send it to me, it was done electronically, there are no projects at 80 West St. Mary's Road that any of the board members should be there checking on or whatever it be. And then the other request, and I'm just saying this because someone obviously wants the information, and for whatever reason they didn't request it themselves, they had also asked for your appointments, just to make sure if there were any appointments that would keep you at the school. And that's, I even know, that's privileged information, that's not on the right to know request. So for whoever asked for that information, did it in my name and sent it, to have them send it to me, that's what was shared. On a positive note, I wanted to thank a couple of school board members. When I see you at games, it means the world to these kids, because a lot of them, if they see me say hi to you or talk to you, they ask me, who is that? A lot of the kids don't know who you guys are, and I get that, you know, but some of you have a vested interest in being at the games. Jake was at the football game this last time. Rick was spending his money for the football team up at Night at the Races. I think he might have been pushed into spending a little more. But for those of you that attend, I appreciate that as well. Another point that I want to make, there's a lot of information that I feel is privileged, that's shared by individuals, that's getting to people like myself. I have people asking me questions, hey, what do you know about this, what do you know about that? And these are things that are probably in your privileged sessions that you're having before the meetings. So I keep an eye on that too, because it's individuals that have this information that are sharing it, probably shouldn't be shared. So I know, things that are said in those meetings are probably for good reason shared in that way, but there's information that, I won't break that privilege. Although it's shared with me clearly from inside the school in emails, it's getting daunting at this point. Past that, I wanted to ask from a security standpoint for our students, I'm looking to see if there's any sort of a policy that keeps our children safe from anyone who shouldn't be at events or practices or anything like that. Our practices closed. I just don't go to them. I think that's out of respect for the coaches. But is there a policy in place? And I guess I'll direct that to you, Mr. Barrett, that keeps individuals that don't have clearances from being around our students?
So, anybody that is going to be with our students for a lengthy period of time, they do need to have clearances, but if we have a visitor here or there, that's pre-planned. They're not required to, but somebody that's gonna be spending a lengthy amount of time with our students are required to have clearances.
So what's a lengthy amount of time?
Well, for us, what we do is, if there's somebody coming in, I'll use the school district as an example. We're having a guest speaker for the day. They're coming in. They're gonna be around kids. They're gonna be supervised coming in, making a 2-hour speech and leaving. So if we had that at a football practice, a volleyball game, whatever it is, somebody stopping in 2 hours and they're giving a clinic or whatever it might be, that's not required to have clearances. However, if it's gonna be regularly scheduled, yes, it's an absolute must.
So the answer then is no. If someone just wants to show up at a practice who is or isn't cleared, could or could not be cleared, they can just show up at practice. Then it's the coach's responsibility to make sure that those students are safe.
Correct.
So what support do the coaches have in that?
Well,
Like, is it just that, is it ever an instance where there's someone who they might fear retribution from? Like, how do they handle something like that?
if there was somebody that was there that's not supposed to be there, obviously, could be a trespass issue, we would call the cops. Or if there's somebody that's, a concern, they can share with the athletic director or whoever their immediate supervisor is.
So what's the issue with just closing practices then? You know what I mean? Why can't we just have a policy that doesn't allow anyone who is not cleared, including parents, to not be at practices, things like that? Because it concerns me a little bit, you know what I mean? I have a lot of children in the district, some are older, some are younger, and it just, I feel like there should be a very cut and dry policy, not based on the length of time, and then it's if they're here and if they're supervised, that's an important one. But if we have an instance where someone can't be supervised, you know what I mean? I think that there should be just a really cut and dry policy here. There's no question. Maybe that's something we can consider, or?
Of course.
Okay. Yeah, and then the last piece, there was a lot of information shared with me on Friday. There was a personnel decision that was made, a lot of damning things. I think it lends itself to the atmosphere that for me, that email that I received was like a culmination of a lot of conversations that I've had. And when I talk with teachers, they fear saying anything. They're not going to talk about it because they want their job. When I talk with administration, it's the same thing. They're in the same position. They have this feeling like, they're whether it's a school board, they're our boss, whether it's, you know, Nate, teachers, whoever it is, there's this, you know, I'm sure you've heard the term very recently on a lot of different occasions. There's a really toxic atmosphere, and I live by a couple of rules. One of them is the 50% rule of lies, and if someone tells me something and 50% of it is believable, then the whole thing is worth talking about, you know?
Mr. Matthews, are you suggesting there's a toxic atmosphere in the Hanover Area School District? Is that what I'm getting?
I don't think anyone could deny that, just based off of conversations that are had, that I'll protect. And it's a top down, you know? We talked about, Mike asked if the policy on hiring, you know, do you just find out here when you're making a vote on who you're getting or who you're not, you know? Some of them it's obvious they're being talked about, right? You know, when you have a relative or something like that, and I won't call that out directly, but you obviously know who's coming through, what the name's gonna be, those types of things. But is there ever a time that whoever's entrusted to our children to make these decisions, you know, let's say like an athletic committee, they decide this is the best person for the job, this is who we'd like to have. What kind of decisions are made at the board level to say, I don't know if I trust everybody that we put in place?
Well, I can tell you
to
from
do
my
that?
standpoint, there are times that I agreed, there's times I disagreed. Everybody here probably has, at one point or another, has done the same. So we rely on a hiring practice where the committees and the professional people within this building, they're subject matter experts. They review everybody. We have the opportunity to sit in on interviews, and there's a recommendation. Everybody here has one vote. I'm one vote. So you can say yes or no. But
So
there's a
even
process.
based
It's
on
not like
that
I just want
recommendation-
to make this clear. It's not like we show up here and here's a name and here we go. It's a pretty involved process.
So how often would you say you don't go with what the committee says? You know, based on what happens in the privilege session?
Me personally,
Well,
Well,
anyone,
well,
I guess. You know, I don't know if you want, everybody
voted
wants
for
to
everybody
answer,
here.
or?
I trusted our professional people based upon their resume and experience. And then, you know, we can't find people. That's adding to the issue. That
Yeah.
there's a shortage.
Yeah, I understand that. That's why I said, I hear a same name and I hear, you know, someone, abstains. I get it. It's not always what everyone wants to believe it is. I get that. But I'm just curious on that. You know, how often do we just throw it all to the wind and just up here decide it's gonna be who we want?
Never. I'm talking,
You
never.
can speak for yourself. Yeah,
Never.
I get it. Okay. So from the toxic atmosphere, I feel like this is top down because I get, comments, I get screenshots of messages that are just completely uncalled for. Just things are and it's just me. I don't know what you guys are up against. You're obviously, the ones that make these decisions, but there aren't many of you that are free from this, finger being pointed here. So I just want you to know, while everybody can't show up that are parents, teachers don't want to show up, it's out there, and if you want to make a change, if you want to, keep the kids in mind first and make sure that we're looking at this from a really holistic standpoint, and saying that the children are what matter more than anything here. I just think there's a lot of change that needs to be made. And I understand that there's a lot of headbutting. I understand there's a lot of that goes on. But if you're really here and you're proud of the role that you're in, I think that everybody should just clean slate it, start over, and start making decisions with our children in mind, 100%. There's no other reason to be up here. And I won't talk about the creepy uncle rule. I won't get into too much detail, but that means if you're involved in something with children and you don't have a vested interest in it, then the interest that you have in it is concerning. So just keep that in mind as well. If you have a vested interest in this and you can prove that out, then please be transparent. Why you're making these decisions, why you're here. And if you can't, in your heart, say, this is why I'm here, this is 100% why I do this, and this is the difference that I wanna make, then I don't think anyone would hold it against any of you to just walk away. You know, it's, you come in, make decisions on the children, their education, their well-being, their life, or don't make decisions. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, not seeing anybody else. Excuse me. I just mentioned that because of the election on November 5th, that our meeting will now be November 12th with the executives, or with the work session at 6:30 and the meeting at 7. One last thing I'd like to say, because I know people, some people like myself, have people that are in the wake of Hurricane Milton. We wish the best to a lot of our former employees here that are retired and moved that way. We wish them the safest well-being. This is a very bad storm, and our prayers are with everybody. So with all that said, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion, Stevens.
Motion by Mr. Stevens.
Orvik, second.
Second by Mr. Horvick. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. We're adjourned. See you the 12th.